So I did not want to skip a beat with this video, so I decided to make a small presentation here that we'll be going through. And this is going to be why they watch you, because they're secretly competing with you. And I want to talk about egoism in this video as well, because it seems to me like there's a lot of people that think that having an ego is wrong and unnecessary, and that is absolutely BS. And the reason for that is because, well, your ego is a center for your conscious domain. It's what I want, it's what I desire. The ego is a servant to the self, sometimes a willful servant and other times a resistant one. And if it weren't for your ego, you'd stay in stagnation. Sometimes, in order to really know what kind of changes in your life that you have to make, or any kind of proclivity toward a less precarious situation that you have to go on and be an endeavor, go on in your endeavors, you have to realize the image of who you are must change. So, for example, if you are a person that is, let's say, fat, for example, like I know me myself, this is a very simple experience that I can draw on. When I was nearly 200 pounds at one point as a 5'6" male, I looked in the mirror and I realized that something needed to change, right? I was looking at myself and I realized that, I've got to change. The time that I can define as the moment that I knew I needed to change was when I was eating pizza and ice cream, playing video games, and I lost the video game. I had lost the game, and I got super upset, and I thought to myself, well, I could keep being a loser and doing what I'm doing, or I could start doing push-ups and aiming to be a winner. This is an example of I needed to realize the image of who I am has to change. So there's a difference between the appearance of who you are, and there's a difference between the image of who you are. Your appearance is momentary. The image of you is everlasting. Okay? So this is why I'm talking about sacred egoism as well in these two slides here. Having an ego is healthy and it's sacred. Because think about this, right? Think about all the times that you've seen people watching you, and maybe they are a bit flattery, or they're trying to have this flattering vocabulary towards you, and they are very flattering. But at the same time, what's going on is that they're trying to get close to you to determine how you do certain things or what you're up to and whatnot. And I'm always very hesitant, I would suppose is the word, for any new people wanting to be in my life or acting like they are coming for me after I've given them and helped them through their lives, which I'll talk more about in the next slide here. But having an ego is healthy and sacred. And these are going to be the same people that will smile in your face as you're helping them, only until they're the ones that think that they deserve something more than you. And that's when people that you've helped in the past and you taught them what you've known, that can be used against you. And sometimes I genuinely wish and believe that there were ways that I could help people that actually want to be helped without having to give certain people that want to be my enemies the game plan. And there are certain ways, and that's why we have a paywall, for the paid community, for example. That's why we have a paywall, is because, and why I don't just give out my time to anybody. I don't just give out my time. It's not that I don't want to be kind to you. It's not that I don't want to be cordial. It's that I simply have my own life to take care of. And the reason why I don't like to be around people that are trolling or trying to debate and whatnot, it's like, look, if you want to talk about this, we can talk about this, but I have to have these boundaries set in place. This is a perfect example also of the lack of stagnation here. So if it weren't for your ego, you'd stay in stagnation, right? You have to show them. You have to show them when they're trying to take what they've gotten as far as a learning experience from you. You have to show them why you have the crown and they don't. Because if you don't, they will turn on you. And it's not always going to be the case that they will turn on you, because loyalty is actually a thing. But it's very likely that this will also be the case. So to love your enemy is to also love your ego. To love your enemy means to love yourself. This is something that I've concluded a long time ago. And the reason for that is because, as Jesus says here in Matthew 5:44. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you. Your ego can do these things. Do you understand what I'm saying? Your enemy that is inside yourself can also be your ego. Your ego can hate you. Your ego can despitefully use you. And your ego could also persecute you. This is why I say there's a sacred egoism that is to be had, and having a healthy ego is actually a good thing. Because here's what they don't want to tell you. Trying to kill the ego, quote unquote, is a psyop to keep you obedient to anything other than God himself. That's what this is about. You'll hear a lot of different kinds of people in the spiritual New Age, for example. New Age talks a lot about this. Oh, it's an ego death. Oh, it's a kill the ego. And I fell for it. I fell for it long ago. I fell for it. And I thought, oh, yeah, that's good. Yeah, I have to kill my ego. But then I realized after a while, I thought to myself, I can't really kill my ego. He always pops back up, and it's a new form. And I thought to myself, oh, so the ego, as I discussed here, it's a center of consciousness. So it's your center of your conscious domain, rather. So your ego is something that is also going to be competing with you. And people will watch you because you're not obedient to the powers that be, and they don't understand why. You're only obedient to God. And that makes you have an ego to some degree, right? Think about all of the greatest people in history that you've ever heard of. It doesn't matter really who it is, just the people that you've heard in history that are great names. Think about this for a second. These people all had egos. And it's a very important part of consciousness for us to have an ego, because if we didn't, we would have no need and no desire to procreate or to preserve ourselves. I mean, this is one of the reasons why Carl Jung says that egoism is the true will of God. And I think that is absolutely the case. We would not have an ego if God didn't create us to have an ego. But it's something to, again, it's a servant. It's a servant to the self, which is the you that transforms through time. That's what you have to be focused on here. Okay? So trying to kill the ego is useless. Don't don't even try to kill the ego, but transform it. And the Eastern philosophies and religions say make friends with the monkey mind. Okay, don't try to be an enemy to the monkey mind, which is the ego. Try to be friends with it, or try to it's a terrible master, but a terrific servant. That's part of the Easterners' philosophies and religions. So now moving on to men, women, and egos. So women will have what I call PMF, which is psychotic maternal fixation, on a man who deflates her ego or humbles her in a good way. Now, this is one of the reasons why men out there, women will watch you because they're sometimes competing with you. If you deflate her ego, she's going to be competing with you. But if you humble her in a good way, she's not going to be competing with you. But she's going to be able to be comfortable in your leadership, be comfortable in what you provide, etc. Now, men, on the other hand, have what I call OPS, which is obsessive purpose seeking or seeker, when a woman multiplies what he has. This is why men and women are different, is because sadism is masculine, masochism is feminine. When a woman builds up a man's ego, he does more for her. When a man is able to humble a woman's ego, she does more for him. Sadism is masculine and masochism is feminine. Why? Because women, whether they want to tell you this or not, believe it or not, women are actually attracted to men that can make them feel a little bit of humiliation or a humbleness, right? And it's not quite evil or manipulative, right? It's not like we're trying to encourage that here. I'm just saying that this is what it is. Because sadism is more where you get pleasure from seeing another person's pain, whereas masochism is where you get pleasure from your own pain. Think about all of the archetypes of women, for example, that, like, why is Lady Justice blind? Okay, Lady Justice is blind because she has to be in order to really make a fair assessment. She has to be blind. She has to be humbled in her senses for her to understand what justice really can be, because if not, she's not going to be able to understand. But a man, on the other hand, like, there's a reason why men are more susceptible to emotional responses when they watch movies about war or read books about war or whatever, and women get emotional in relationships and talking about relationships, watching chick flicks, etc. And it's because the man understands that in his sadism, and I'm not trying to use these in a negative connotation or anything, I want to make that clear, but in his sadism, he recognizes that, like, defeating the enemy is a beautiful thing, but when a man has to sacrifice himself in order to defeat the enemy, that's like, in some ways, that's like the ultimate form of sadism. And again, I'm not trying to use it in a negative way, but you guys get what I'm saying here. Whereas masochism, for the females, the epitome of masochism for a female, when she watches like those rom-com movies and whatnot, it's It's that she gets this definite understanding that not only is she being chosen, she's seeing somebody be chosen, but there's also going to be a future of provisions and resources there, etc. So this is why simping, for example, is a masochistic trait that makes men more feminine, because you're literally bending over backwards and forwards to please somebody else for your humiliation's sake. I hope everybody's understanding what I'm really saying here, because I'm not trying to be obtuse or anything like that. I'm trying to be as very informative as possible. And finally, the traps of the ego. This is going to be another reason why people will watch you, is because you know that you don't just come off the top shelf because somebody else can't reach it. Just because they can't reach the top shelf doesn't mean that you're just out there. This is one of the other reasons why I talked about earlier. People that will smile in your face while you're helping them, and then they try to go against you. This is going to be, that's it right here. You're on the top shelf, and because they can't reach it, they want to project their insecurities onto you. Now, sometimes it's healthy critiques. Sometimes it's healthy critiques, and sometimes it's healthy understandings that, sometimes you have just a blind spot that you don't know about, because you don't know what you don't know, right? But you can always tell when somebody's projecting their insecurities because they're upset that they can't get what they want from you. When you tell somebody no, you're able to see a lot about who they are. So what seems good can keep evil around, and what keeps evil around might seem good. Now, this is what another trap of the ego is like, is because sometimes what seems good for, like killing the ego, for example, right? That's a psyop. Killing the ego, as we talked about here. Killing the ego actually keeps evil around. Integrating a healthy ego with what seems evil might actually bring forth some good. So some people also get into this loop of entitlement and loop of self-improvement in their entitlement. And they'll get into this, just this cascade of, oh, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. Like, think about the weirdest things you've done in the name of self-improvement. I know I've done some pretty strange things, which, you know what, I might just ask that as like a community post. Is what's the weirdest thing people have done in the name of self-improvement? Because sometimes people get so caught up in the grind and the hustle and all of that they just kind of deplete themselves. And I know that's happened to me recently. That's happened to me in some senses, because I've tried so hard to do certain things. I've tried so hard to act in certain ways. And I realize, I'm like, man, you know what? I don't really need to do this. Like, in fact, trying to go literally the extra mile, like if I'm at the gym, for example, there's nothing wrong with breaking records and all of that, but I've been really pushing it at the gym recently. But it was starting to affect my work in the day-to-day, and I thought, okay, well, there's one of two ways that I can go about this then. I can continue to put a lot more effort in the gym and miss out on some of the stuff that I'm working on. Like, I'm not able to operate, let's say, I can only operate at like 70% for the work that I'm doing in my entrepreneurship if I'm going 110% at the gym. But if I go like 80% at the gym, I can go 90% in my entrepreneurship. This is just an example. I'm not saying these are the actual numbers. It's just an example. So that's the kind of mentality that I was approaching. I was like, okay, there's a lot of stuff going on here. I need to figure out how to change these things. And as soon as I started making changes, people were watching me. People were trying to pay attention to me. And, why aren't you doing this anymore? Why aren't you doing that anymore? It's like, well, I'm changing things up. Like, I got to keep it fresh, man. I got to keep it fresh. I'm not stuck in the loop of self-improvement. So many other people, like at the gym, I see so many people, they're doing amazing stuff in the gym, but they're neglecting every other aspect of their life because of the gym. And it's like, I guess I just don't really see personally, I just don't see the benefit of that. Like David Goggins, for example, that man is a beast. And that man, I have so much respect for him. But it seems to me like a lot of his other parts of his life has suffered because of him having that, super focus on physical activity. And I'm not trying to knock on David Goggins because I love that guy. I'm just saying that, like, the way that he's lived his life isn't exactly how I would want to live my life, even though I have immense respect for what he's doing. I want to be as whole as possible. I don't want to have my knees being destroyed and have surgery every other month because I've destroyed my body. I want to have, I don't really like the term balance, but I want to have balance to some degree. I want to be able to live and move as I need to. And when you're somebody that knows how to move in their life, they're going to start to compete with you. And it might not even be secret. I have secretly here, but they might not even be secret about it. They might just be very open about it. But anyways, guys, I hope that this presentation was insightful and useful to some degree. You feel free to take those screenshots, just for information's sake along the way. That's one of the reasons also why I'm trying this new slideshow today. And with all that being said, I hope everybody has a blessed rest of your day, and peace be with you all until next time.